Welcome to Sunday Live, Spiritual Direction and Soul Cares Sunday Live, Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I am so excited about what we're doing today. Well, this is what I'm calling a Soul Care Sunday, and we are going to do a deep dive into just refreshment and strengthening and growing awareness and all of that with some insanely practical tools like we like to do at Spiritual Direction and Soul Care. Each Sunday we a lot of times start with our own um, grounding practice, our most basic spiritual practices that we call breath and stillness, giving ourselves the gift of breath and stillness. But the work of meditation, the work of deep self reflection, the work of silent, if in maybe in your tradition you would call it prayer, right? Helps cultivate cultivate within us growing awareness, growing wisdom. It helps us access the gifts and wisdom that we have always talked about, saying is waiting within us. And we're going to talk about a little bit and explore the riches of silence, the riches of silence, the beauty and power of silence. And we're gonna do kind of a deep dive in this guided thing. So to get ready for that today, um, I would really encourage you to maybe get a notebook or a journal or some things to write with. Be ready to, after we come in and out of a few moments of guided silence, be ready to share in the chat. And I see already in the chat, Shannon Trammell, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in so while, in a long time. Glad you're back with us today. We're kind of taking a little break today from our journey that we've been on called Holy Humanity, talking about 10 different dimensions of the human soul, 10 spiritual experiences that are core experiences of the spiritual journey. But today we're going to take a little break and we're going to just kind of dive back into practices. I was thinking today just about how important practices are. And you might be traveling in religious circles where they talk about that more lately. Last 10 to 15 years, more people have emphasized practices, but then we don't necessarily always do it. And so I want us to look at and discover the riches of silence today. And I want to guide us through how silence, the gift of silence to ourselves, is a gift, is a healing gift. And it's a place where we activate the belief that we have spiritual resources within us waiting. Well, how do you access those? Well, one of the primary ways is through the practice of silence, the practice of silent meditation, and of how it cultivates our self-awareness, our awareness of God's presence, our awareness of our needs, our awareness of our unique ways that we're expressing who we are, so that we can understand ourselves better and become ourselves more fully. So, yeah. Mark says, if silence is a gift, why are you talking? Also, hey, yes, this is the paradox of silence, but you're fired. You can get off the broadcast now. No, Mark's a good friend. Give me a hard time. That's awesome. I'm glad you're here as well. So, like I said, if you have writing materials or a journal or something to take notes with, have that out and ready at some point. But yeah, we are going to dive into and explore the riches of silence with a time of guided meditation and reflection. And I hope I know this is going to be healing for you. So, also get the things around you that might be helpful to you, right? So, like, I have mementos and things that are very important to me around me. I'm burning a little incense because I lived in Japan almost 20 plus years ago. And I love the incense from Japan. So I have some Japanese incense that I'm using just to kind of create an environment of wholeness and comfort and peace, things that I need for me. So let's get ready as we dive into this Sunday Live, this Soul Care Sunday. And I know we're going to get strengthened and refreshed. So let's get comfortable and let's think for a moment before we dive in. One thinker said that silence is the great revelation. Silence is the great revelation. And many of us who come from the Christian faith, we're accustomed to think of Scripture as the revelation of God. And more importantly, to think of Jesus as the revelation of God. And so it is. So it is. I want you, though, today now discover the revelation that silence brings. What we mean in the mystical tradition of Christianity and even in other religions that say that silence is the language of God. So what does that mean? What is the revelation that silence brings? To take in the revelation that Scripture offers us, you have to expose yourself to Scripture. And so to take in the revelation that silence offers you, you must then attain silence. And silence isn't easy. We live in a noisy world. Maybe you come from a tradition that looked upon silence and reflection suspiciously, right? I remember growing up in my early years in church and hearing people say, oh, don't do anything silent where you're called to be emptying yourself, because that's when demons will rush in, And I'd always be like, I thought God filled all things, right? And that just didn't resonate right for me. And then as I grew older and did more reading, I learned that even the silence that they were warning about is not a silence of nothingness in the sense of just exposing yourself to whatever comes. Silence and the quiet of silence is a space full of potential. It's a space where we remove obstacles, we remove the things that are keeping us busy in our spirits to keep us distracted. So silence is a great opening to space for us to be able to hear and see and to encounter God. So we're going to try to do that in this exercise and in this practice. So, are you ready? I want you, as we engage with the riches of silence, I want you to take a comfortable posture, okay? And to close your eyes. Close your eyes. And to allow your shoulders to drop and to simply breathe in and breathe out. And I'm going to invite you to keep silence for a period of 10 minutes. It's going to be 10 minutes. Okay. And you will try to remain in silence, as a total silence of heart and mind, as much as is possible. And wherever you encounter it and experience it, you are going to be open, choose to be open to whatever revelation brings in that silence. Okay. And at the end of 10 minutes, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes and maybe share with us, or put it down in those notes in your journal, or share it in the chat. Okay. And if you wish, no pressure. And as you're sharing, I'd like you to share, if you share, what you did and what you experienced in these few moments. So let's begin. Close your eyes and let's begin now. just a little past the halfway mark of 10 minutes of silence. Whenever you achieve silence, even for a few moments, remember to be open to what is revealed there, what comes up for you. Think about what you're doing, what you're experiencing, even before silence. 4, 3, 2, 1. I invite you to open your eyes. 10 minutes of silence. 10 minutes of grasping at silence. If you would like to, you can write down, like I said, either in a notes or in the chat, share in the chat. What did you do during that 10 minutes of silence? What were you experiencing? Were you resisting silence? Were you finding yourself distracted by certain thoughts or feelings or physical sensations? Just share what you observed about your attempts at mining the riches of silence and sharing with the rest of us what you did and what happened to you. Tell us the attempts, right? Like, tell us about what you did and were thinking about or trying to help you get to a place of quiet. And maybe describe the silence, if you can, when you experienced it. And what were you experiencing within the silence? Write down or tell us anything you thought or felt during the exercise. Just feel free to put that in the chat if you'd like. Amy says, silence was nice, but struggled also to keep my eyes closed at first. Both together were hard at first. Yeah, absolutely. We're so shaped and formed to engage and produce and go, right? We feel it at the very level of our bodies, right? That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else, feel free to put things in. Many times the experience of people who attempt this exercise, it's going to be infinitely varied. It's going to be as unique as each individual who engages in the exercise. And most people discover, to their surprise, that silence is something that we're just simply not accustomed to, like I was saying, right? We discover that no matter what we do, we have a hard time, and we can't still come to stillness because of this kind of constant wandering of our minds. It becomes difficult to quiet the emotional turmoil that we feel within our hearts. And other people sometimes feel themselves kind of approaching silence, and then some of us may panic, right, at the thought of silence, and we withdraw. Silence can be a frightening experience for some people, right? Mark says, in the first 2 minutes, my 5-year-old came yelling for me. I want the silence, but I'm too used to the noise breaking in. The rest of the time, the realization was that as much as I want silence, my mind wants to jump from one thing to another. Yeah. And yeah, that's really good. That's honest, right? We're so shaped to jump, right? We're so shaped to resist the pause, right? Or like I said, for some people, we're terrified of it, right? And regardless of what's happened, regardless of whether you were struggling to keep your eyes closed, or your kid was coming in, or your mind was jumping, or maybe you felt uncomfortable with silence and you didn't like the potential of even hearing what you would hear in the silence, right? Those are all not any reason to be discouraged. There is no reason to be discouraged by any of this. Because even the wandering thoughts, even your wandering thoughts, are a great revelation, aren't they? The fact that your mind wanders, or that you struggled with even like centering down, right, Isn't that also an important revelation out of silence to yourself about yourself? I mean, for me, I am just so committed. I'm so committed to trying to find and cultivate spirituality, right? A sense, a stance, a life stance, a way of seeing and understanding reality and myself and others that is free of judgment, right? Free of judgment, free of pressure to perform, right? So instead of being bothered by the idea that my mind wanders or frustrated that my kid came in or being like I want to be silent but it was just hard to like just buckle down and close my eyes, right, or whatever it is, um instead of judging ourselves, right, it's about embracing the revelation of what those things tell us about ourselves, being curious about ourselves, becoming aware of ourselves, because the more aware actually we are of ourselves, the more at peace we can be, because the more aware we are, then we have more opportunity to simply accept ourselves, to have compassion for ourselves, see, right? And so when we do an exercise of like this, like a guided time of intentional silence, it shows us how we need it because it helps us experience ourselves, right? When we're so go, 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 and we've got to do the work and get the things and figure out how we're going to get the house clean so that we're back ready to go to work in the morning and so that we can get the kids out to school and all the next things that we have to do. We're doing our lives, but we're not actually in a place where we are experiencing ourselves. We're doing everything but experiencing ourselves. And so you have to take the time to experience your wandering mind and the type of wandering that it indulges even, right? So is it wandering like I'm wandering because I'm thinking about how I need to pick out my clothes and iron a nice shirt for work tomorrow and then make sure that the kitchen is cleaned and then make sure that air gets in the tires of the car tomorrow? Is it that kind of wandering? Is it the wandering that takes you back to the person that you love, that you've missed, the person that you've lost? Is it the kind of wandering that comes back to weird random experiences from childhood that aren't really a big deal, but for whatever reason like make you feel embarrassed and ashamed even at middle age? Like what is not only experiencing yourself but experiencing the way you're wandering, the way you are, right? So experiencing yourself, experiencing the kind of self that you are. How much does that reveal to you about yourself, right? Isn't that revealing too? This is the revelation of silence. And this is the voice of God, right? The silence is the voice of God, right? Shannon says, I enjoyed the silence. I also struggled to keep my mind from overthinking. I just want to be still. I was eventually able to be more present and still. It's very calming. Yeah. And like how we experience ourselves, how we experience our wandering, how we experience the kinds of wandering we're doing, and how we experience ourselves in response as we look on upon ourselves and observe ourselves wandering, and the desire, like the fact that you had a desire, right? I just wanted to be still. This is a core revelation of something that is essential to who you are, Shannon, right? Maybe, but you wouldn't have been able to surface it and illuminate that and come to awareness of it in as profound a way if we hadn't done this exercise of just kind of jumping in at the deep end of the pool and doing 10 minutes of silence, right? See, like 10 minutes of silence is not just going into this great, high, elevated, super spiritual person guru state, right? Right? Of like, oh, I can achieve silence whenever I need it. No, the work of moving towards silence is to let the tensions of silence, to let all these things that I've been talking about rise to the surface. That is the work. It's not getting to some like super elevated, super spiritual master state. It's about the journey into silence and letting that journey, the tensions that it rises, that is what silence is showing you. See? That is the gift of silence that you're giving to yourself, right? So there's never any reason to be discovered to be discouraged by any of the tension that you feel in silence and in this exercise. And and here's something even more encouraging, I think, put it a different way. The fact that you are aware of your mental wanderings or your inner turmoil or your inability to be still shows that you have an amount of some degree of silence already within you, or at least a sufficient amount of silence to help you be aware of what we've all talked about. See? So it's already there. It's like what we've always talked about from the beginning of when we started spiritual direction and soul care. All the gifts are waiting within. Everything that you need has been given to you, right? And part of the challenge of the spiritual journey is accessing practices and exercises that help us access what is already waiting within, the light within, right? The Spirit of God waiting within, and all the gifts that are yours as one who is made in the image of God. So, we've done 10 minutes of silence. It's surfaced some things about yourself and the way you navigate silence. You've been able to identify that there is already a place to a certain degree of stillness and silence within you. Otherwise, you would not have had these revelations in the riches of silence here together. So let's try it again, but just for 2 minutes, okay? And I want you to close your eyes again and become aware of your wandering mind. Become aware of your overthinking again. Become aware of the tension to even close your eyes, whatever it is, just for 2 minutes, okay? And in that space, as you become aware of it, I want you to intentionally sense the silence that makes it possible for you to even be aware of yourself in this state, okay? Okay. So let's do 2 minutes of just coming to an awareness of our wandering or our overthinking or whatever it is, and then also a parallel awareness of the sense of silence, the power of silence, the presence of sacred silence within you that enables your awareness. Okay, so let's do that for 2 minutes. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1, and you're back. See, it's that minimal silence, that certain measure of silence that's already there within you that you have identified, right? This is the foundation that you build on from these kinds of spiritual exercises. And as that silence grows, it's going to reveal to you more and more about yourself, See? It will teach you to listen to that inner witness that you have about yourself. And, and maybe even more accurately, you could say that silence will reveal yourself to you, right? Not reveal anyone else to you, will reveal yourself to you. That's the very first revelation that comes in the spiritual journey. An expanding, growing, deeper, accurate picture of yourself. And in and through that revelation, you then attain things that not even money can buy. You attain things like wisdom. You attain things like peace, serenity, joy, the presence of the holy, the sacred, the very living presence of God. So, to grasp these priceless things, it's not enough just to reflect or talk or discuss or vent, right? What you need and what we do in these exercises is really a form of spiritual work. They are exercises, right? And that's what we're getting to work at. When we talk about exercising and health, right? Fully being able to be fully functional human beings, right? We talk about physical exercise. Well, the spiritual life is no different, right? We're doing exercises that help us strengthen and become fully ourselves. Judy says, for me, that moment of first releasing myself as the silence, rather than my thoughts is difficult, like letting go of mental control. But then it's like the door open through which I can know with the heart. Yes. Yeah. It's a different kind of knowing. Yeah. And too much religion, too much spirituality is talking about ideas as opposed to doing actions and practices that activate the heart, the core, the soul, right? So, let's do seeking silence one more time. Okay. One more time. We're going to do it for 5 minutes this time. Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes and seek silence for another 5 minutes. And at the end of this exercise, I want you to note whether your attempts this time are more successful or less. And note whether silence has revealed something to you this time that you might have failed to notice last time. Okay. So let's move into silence again. Comforting posture. Closed eyes or eyes to the middle distance. And breathe in. And silence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I invite you to come up out of silence. What do you notice? Were your attempts of stepping into silence, did you find yourself going there faster? Did you find yourself going there deeper? Did you find yourself resisting it more? Did you feel fatigued and say, I'm done with this? What was happening? And when you moved into silence, what came up? What was revealed in silence this time that maybe you might have failed to notice last time? You can put it in the chat if you want, or jot it down on your notes, or just hold it within your heart. Mark says, from the 6 years living outside of Nashville in that community, there's this expectation that God will speak something significant in that time, and I'm pushing against that, but still I want that. Fascinating. Could you say more about that and what you mean? You're saying that there's an expectation that God would have spoken in a significant way back then? Or are you saying speaking because of that experience with the community, you're saying you're expecting some kind of significant revelation, speaking something significant now as you pursue silence now? Maybe clarify. And I also, I wonder too, when we think about revelation, it's important for us when we talk about silence as a source of revelation, silence as the voice of God, that we train ourselves. Mark says, yes, that was the expectation back then. Okay. Yeah. And so what's key in the building block of the spiritual life, right? The building blocks of the spiritual life is not it's not a fast forward, pass go and go to the most expensive thing and collect your $200 and get, right? Like the development of the spiritual life is a journey of a lifetime, right? And so oftentimes our spiritual spaces push us for the mountaintop. They push us for the high level mic drop experience, right? But the key of this work is to not seek anything sensational, right? To not seek anything sensational in the revelation that silence brings. And so your silence now is giving you the gift of seeing this about yourself, as you're saying, right? That was the expectation. This is what's ingrained in me, right? So this is a good revelation for you, right? This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's helping you become aware of you, right? And where you are now. So the key to this work is not to seek the sensational and to become aware of the ways we've been trained to seek the sensational, right? Lights, inspirations, insights, mic drop moments, right? In fact, what silence, the exercise of silence does is to teach us to not be seeking at all, but to limit ourselves to observing ourselves. See? Seeking has an assumption of a value, right? And I'm trying to unwind that self-judging, evaluating posture that we have within ourselves. That's what I'm trying to unwind. That's what I know I got to get saved from, right? So many times religion offers salvation, but they don't offer us the healing, the redemption, the liberation from the thing that's actually creating the suffering itself. Right? And that's what I'm trying to get saved from, right? So this practice, and I think that's what people need to get saved from, is the judging of the self, the need to seek, to pick apart and find and be the thing and get the mic drop so that I feel good and I matter because God's own spirit has spoken an anointing over me so I can matter, it's like I'm trying to detox from that at almost 50 years of age. And I feel like I was at a place where I was aware of that and not really bought into that, but it is so ingrained. There's so many different ways it's ingrained in all of us, right? And that's just kind of part of our drive because we were trying to secure ourselves, whether you're doing it through religion or not. We're always trying to secure ourselves and our self-conception. So the gift of silence, the riches of silence, the revelation of silence is these practices help us limit ourselves to simply observing. Just take in everything that comes into your awareness. Everything, no matter how trite or ordinary, that is being revealed to you about you, right? All your revelation may consist of is the fact that in the middle of silent meditation today, your hands got clammy, right? Or that you're starting to feel weird tension in the right quadrant of your back. And so you have this urge to change your posture. Or maybe all that came to mind today was, I want to do this, but I just don't feel it. Or I'm worried about my health. Or I'm worried about my money. Or I remember that one time that I left the oven on at my house when I left the house when I was 15 after making cookies and almost burnt my house down. And my mom was so mad or whatever. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's all is coming into view for you and it doesn't matter. That's okay. The important thing is that you're becoming aware of yourself as yourself. The content of your awareness, listen, the content of your awareness is less important than the quality of your awareness. And as the quality improves, your silence is going to deepen. And as your silence deepens, you will experience change. This is why silence and breath are our most basic spiritual practices, and they're the basis upon which we go deeper and deeper into them, right? It's silence at a deeper level and a broader level over and over and over and over and over, because it's the silence that cultivates an imagination for transformation that helps us become aware of our need to seek and justify and experience and simply observe the mundane and sometimes embarrassing realities of ourselves, even the trite and ordinary reality of ourselves, so that we can come down back to earth and join the human race and simply love ourselves where we are and learn that everyone else is in the same boat and thus have compassion for others, right? That's why Jesus says you need to love your neighbor as yourself, because the way one loves oneself, the way one extends compassion to oneself, the way one becomes aware of and curious about oneself means that we are then empowered to extend that curiosity, compassion, and awareness to others. And that's healing. And that way we support each other in our journeys of awareness and rest and becoming, right? And you'll discover, right? You'll discover to your delight that revelation is not knowledge. Revelation is power. Revelation is a mysterious power that brings transformation. Amen. Spiritual direction and soul care. It's been so good to be together today on this Soul Care Sunday, where we are refreshing our souls with meditation, with mining the riches of silence, and thus really discovering the riches waiting within each of us. I hope you are seen today. I hope you see yourself. And I thank you for sharing the gift of your sacred presence with us on this call or this replay. I'm so glad that we could be together today. We'll be back next time. Maybe we'll continue with the last few parts of our series on holy humanity. We've gone through 7 sections. We have 3 more to go. Maybe we'll do more of this. We'll see. We'll see how the spirit within leads. And let me know in the chat what you'd like to do, what you're interested in, and maybe other things that you would be hoping that we could do together. I hope you have a great week. Let me know how you're doing in the chat, or you can directly contact me through the Facebook page. Would love to connect with you and support you in any way I can as we continue on through this first part of 2023. You're amazing, and I thank you for being with me today. Have a awesome week.